Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. It's Rob and Sandra from My Wife the Dietitian, and this is Nutrition Nuggets.
Hey, Rob.
Oh, hello, Sandra.
Here's a nugget.
Another nugget.
A nugget about how to up-level your rice.
Up-level?
Well, make it a bit more interesting. I have clients that are just saying, you know, it's one of their main grains they add at night for dinner.
Oh, okay, and they're bored with their rice.
Yeah,
fair enough. I get that. Well, they've come to the right place because we can give them some ideas, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did do an episode on brown rice versus white rice on Nutrition Nuggets 19.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that people can refer back to.
And that's more like the health differences between them, I guess. It's not so much ideas of how to cook them and what to do with them. It's more just the basic differences.
Maybe. I think we probably talked about how to use them too.
A little bit.
And then we did one, Nutrition Nugget 62, is cauliflower rice healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And cauliflower rice is not really rice at all. It's not a grain.
No, but you can sort of grate it or chop it down to make it, use it in a way that you would use rice.
Right.
And it's good. I actually, that was our newsletter vegetable of the week, was cauliflower and a bunch of different things you can do with cauliflower. And
I
all
love the vegetable of the week.
Yeah. It's it kind of forces you to think outside the box and maybe look at
the box.
the
rice.
The rice box. Yeah, just to look at vegetables in maybe a way you haven't thought about before. So that's what that is in the newsletter. And if you haven't subscribed to that, I know a lot of you have, and we thank you for that. But if you haven't, it's a free weekly newsletter. You just hit it up on the website, mywifethedietitian.com. Lots of links there for it. So yeah, join us.
Yeah, because I do think there's a lot of people that haven't, because we know there's lots of listeners out there. So if you're listening, sign up.
Exactly.
Speaking of the box, brown rice comes in small boxes because the oil in the bran portion can go rancid if it sits around a long time before it's eaten.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you're going to buy brown rice, store it in the fridge. If you're going to have it around longer than 6 months.
Oh, really? Oh, that's very interesting.
And I don't know if you know this, but rice is the one that if it sits around a long time in the pantry, it could, go rancid. It could be a problem. Yeah,
I don't think food sitting around for long periods of time is a problem in our house, typically. It's we usually take care of that, but long before it becomes an issue.
True. That's so funny, Rob.
I could start a side gig where I go and like clean out people's cupboards, clean out their fridge. Say, we need to eat this. It's going to go bad. Here, let me help you out with that.
We're going to do an episode about doing like a pantry and fridge clean out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do that, like
featuring Rob.
Yeah. Starting the new year, but other times of the year too, just like the spring cleaning, like let's get rid of all the junk.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Did you know that different shapes of rice give different results when you cook them? So the shorter the grain, the stickier the rice, and long grain rice are better for casseroles and stuffing.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even know if I wondered about that. I think I've noticed that there's, like rice is very small to begin with, so you don't really notice the difference in shape or size as much as you do with, say, pasta. But yeah, there's definitely some where you notice the rice is quite long.
Yeah, when we make sushi, it's like sticky rice.
I never noticed how the size.
Sticky.
I noticed that it's sticky, but I never noticed the size of it.
It's a short grain.
Is that why? Okay. Interesting. Mm-hmm. There you go.
It's more gelatinous.
Learn something new.
And this one, do you remember buying this wild rice?
I remember that.
This is very interesting. It's very long.
Yeah, they're like an inch long or well, maybe not an inch long, but yeah, they're quite long. And that's what I'm thinking of in like, I don't know. I've had rice dishes before where the rice is noticeably long.
Mm-hmm. The wild
like
rice.
Spanish rice maybe, or whatever it is that's, the rice is quite long.
Spanish rice. Do you know that Spanish rice is a type of rice pilaf with southwestern flavorings, onion, garlic, tomatoes, and it's like you brown the rice.
Oh, it's in a frying pan usually, isn't it? Like you cook it and then you stick it in a frying pan with a bunch of like those veggies you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like Spanish rice. It's tasty.
Oh, so good. And that's actually what rice pilaf is. You've heard of that, right?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is.
It's actually the way the rice is prepared, and it involves cooking the rice with broth or like a chicken stock, like some soup or flavoring and spices, and sometimes even meat or juice.
Meat or juice,
Like,
one or the other.
No, or both.
Or
like,
meat juice.
Well, like tomato juice and meat or meat.
There you go.
Yeah, really interesting. All the different ways to use rice, and you should rinse it before cooking it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's one of those things we've talked about many times.
But it's not always something that people do, though.
It's not something I ever did until I learned on this podcast that I should rinse my rice and my beans.
That sounds kind of... There's a tangent for you. Oh, my gosh. I think if people grow up using those pre-flavored rice dishes or, instant rice that you don't need to cook
like
from scratch.
The little packets kind of thing, or you just add water and it's ready and it comes a little flavored pack. It's kind of like Mr. Noodles, but it's the rice version, right?
Yeah.
What are they called? Like they're called, I don't know, there's some brand name or something.
Ben.
Well, there's Uncle Ben's. That's the ready in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Remember the lady from Brady Bunch used to be like they're like Alice.
Yeah.
Alice, remember the whatever her job was on the Brady Bunch? She was like always in like a maid outfit.
The housekeeper nanny.
But it's like it's not a hotel. It's just their house. But anyway,
so funny.
I don't know. I just had the flashback of that. But
I love that show.
Yeah, it was a great show. It's a really modern concept for the 70s to have that kind of split family kind of unit,
true.
Right?
True, yeah.
That was kind of rare back then, wasn't it?
3 kids on each side? Or
like,
3 or 3? Yeah, 3 girls and 3 boys.
Stepmoms and stepdads and all that.
That's right.
Anyway.
So funny.
Yeah, but Alice was like the spokesperson for the ready in 5 minutes rice, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
I think so, too.
Yeah. So those things aren't usually that healthy though, right? They're like probably loaded with sodium and all like the little flavor packets and stuff. I've learned that as well because it's like a packaged, processed kind of version of rice. It's easy and they're tasty.
Easy and convenient.
Yeah, but they end up being like soup. Not running like soup, but like really high sodium level and all the like all the preservatives and all that kind of stuff. It's just loaded. Like the ingredients is more than just rice.
Exactly.
There's so much stuff in there you probably don't want to eat. So
and you can't really rinse those ones.
Well, no, you don't want to rinse that because you'd rinse away all the sauce and the flavor. I think, some of them they come all in one, right? And some of them
like
you
boil in a bag.
Yeah.
They're okay for camping or once in a while. It's not the worst thing in the world, but if this is a regular way that you eat rice, or that's the only way you know how to eat rice, it is very beneficial to learn other ways to cook rice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, typically it's like a side dish, or it could be in a rice bowl, like a grain dip, like a poke bowl or a grain bowl. That's a good way to use rice.
Mm-hmm.
Or in a salad, like using leftover rice and adding veggies and like having a grain salad.
I love that. I love when we have leftover rice, especially if it's not flavored.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I can do whatever I want with it. It's like a blank slate. And it's like, okay, I'll just throw a bunch of rice in a bowl. I can either do something cold or I can heat it up and do like just something fresh the next day with some veggies and whatever. It's awesome. It's awesome to have around.
And remember today, we just put rice in the bowl and then added the soup. We had lentil soup, which was like lentils loaded with well, there's white beans and lentils and tons of vegetables and canned tomatoes. Oh, it's such a good soup.
I couldn't find the soup. I grabbed another one from the fridge, but I went into the kitchen all excited and found the rice, and then the big crock pot thing's empty. And like, oh, I thought there was soup here. What's going on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I thought I put the rice back in the fridge, or the soup in the fridge, thinking that you had already eaten lunch. Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's okay. I found some other soup that we had the other day, and
perfect.
Yeah, there's no shortages of soup here.
That's right. No, and that was one way to
include the rice.
Yeah, like I just put rice, like it's leftover rice. You put it in the bottom of the bowl and add your soup, and then it mixes all up, and it's just a great way to include rice.
Mm-hmm. And you had added vegetables to that rice when you made it.
Well, that's what I wanted to mention. That's what the whole reason we're doing this is. That's a good way to up-level your rice and like get some veggies in, right? So we have this like fajita mix of like frozen veggies, so they're
ready to go. It's like onions and peppers, I think, and you can buy various sort of like mixed veggies, like frozen veggies. So whatever version you like. Yeah, you just threw them in as the rice was cooking.
Yeah. So we use a rice cooker, and I usually use chicken broth or coconut milk. For flavoring.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to flavor, like to cook your rice. Like you don't have to just cook it in water. I mean, you can. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to make rice pudding, you'd probably want to cook it in either water or coconut milk.
Right.
Because it's like more of a sweet dish, right?
We had the best rice pudding on our recent trip we did. A friend makes it. It's his grandma's recipe. It's been in the family forever. And oh my God, it was fantastic. And he made like big like lasagna trays of this stuff and would just leave it in the fridge for everyone to eat.
We'd have it for breakfast some days.
Oh, so good.
It was really good.
Yeah. I haven't typically been a big fan of rice pudding, but this stuff was unreal.
Yeah, we should make that.
Yeah, the texture was good. It was more like solid, and it had a lot of like really nice flavorings with cinnamon and some other stuff in it. And I don't remember there was some kind of secret ingredient. I think his family's Greek, so it had some kind of cultural connection too for the flavors and all that. But anyway, it was awesome. So yeah, that's, if you can
so good
find a secret recipe like that, it's worth trying.
Oh, absolutely. So delicious. People ask about, isn't rice too high in carbohydrates? Well, so the difference between different rices, so 1 cup of rice is 50 grams of carbohydrates.
Okay.
So that's a cup of cooked rice, and a cup of wild rice. So the kind that's like almost an inch long, the wild rice.
The long grain.
Yeah, really long.
Really long grain. That's not just long grain. It's really long grain. And it is actually
reddy black. Like it's very distinctive. It's very interesting. I can't wait to cook with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is 35 grams of carbs per cup.
Okay.
Versus the 50 grams per cup.
Right.
White rice, the short grain, is 53 grams of carbs for a cup.
Is that because you can fit more in the cup, do you think? Or like, is it?
It has.
Like, I wonder if you measured like 1 grain of, measured like in a lab, like you like analyze, that's what I'm looking for. 1 grain of rice of short grain versus long grain versus wild rice, what the numbers would be. Because if it's short, you can fit more in that cup. So maybe it's just the quantity that boosts whatever the reason is. I guess it doesn't really matter. There's 53 grams in a cup of short grain rice. It's kind of the bottom line, right?
Yeah, it's amylopectin is the starch in the rice. And we did an episode on resistant starch.
Mm-hmm. I've been eating a lot more rice since because I feel like, this is good for me. I'm gonna snack on this and just the next day.
The leftover rice.
I don't feel bad about eating it the next day.
Why would you feel bad?
Well, not bad.
The thing with like people feeling bad, food is not a moral issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it really drives me crazy and it's just our culture, and people say, I feel bad I ate chocolate, or I feel bad I had some ice cream. It's like, no, no, don't feel bad. This is part of life. We're human. All foods fit. We should be able to savor the food that we're going to eat. Don't feel bad. There's no reason to feel bad about eating.
I agree. And it's kind of funny you said that, because I was gonna comment on the whole thing about how many carbs are in rice. And that's just like become this like new trend over the last, well, it's probably been like 20 years now, where people are concerned about low carb diets, and it's a diet trend. That's where that whole concept comes from. I mean, we need carbs, right? Carbs aren't bad, but they've become the devil in so many of these diet trends that people, if they don't really know the details, they think, ooh, carbs are bad. I can't eat those. I can't eat bread. I can't eat pasta. I can't eat rice. Can't eat any of that stuff. But that's just not true.
I'm totally shaking my head, yes, because I have seen client after client after client the last few weeks, the people that have come to me with issues around gut health and digestion issues, usually IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome, and it's usually on the loose side, or maybe the other way, with constipation or gas and bloating. These are all things I see all the time. And once we start working together, within 2 weeks, like literally, it's pretty soon after, where they're including more of the prebiotics, probiotics, and the postbiotics. Not that you have to actually add postbiotics, but if you add foods that have some carbohydrates, like rice, for instance, that will give food for the good bacteria, the probiotics. So the rice can be a prebiotic. It's a fiber that the little gut bugs like to eat, and that helps with your overall gut environment. So it's interesting because getting people like eating more regularly with like a well-balanced meal, and remember where rice fits on our plate, in our plate ratio.
It's like a quarter, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know it. Yes. So a quarter of the plate or bowl if you're having like a grain bowl. So if you think of, say you went out to a Chinese restaurant and there was like noodles, rice, and generally it's the noodles and the rice are the starchy part of the plate.
Right.
So if you load up on both noodles and rice and everything else, you're probably, the plate ratio is off a little bit. So you want a quarter of the plate to be rice or noodles, but we're just talking about rice tonight.
Yeah. A lot of restaurants will do that too, because it's good filler. You know, they'll give you way extra pasta or way extra rice or potatoes or French fries or whatever, because it fills the plate and it doesn't cost as much as the more expensive things, which are the proteins and the veggies and all that.
Yeah. And I mean, we're not here saying that, oh, you should like eat rice all the time and just go wild on like, go
wild with your rice.
You know, that's the thing, right? That the problem does happen when the plate ratio is off. And if you go to a restaurant and you have a pasta dinner, like a spaghetti meal, it's probably 6 portions of pasta with a little bit of veggies like in the sauce.
But it's just one night though.
I know. Exactly. That's true.
That's your point, right?
My point is the plate ratio. It's, you know, if we think back to half the plate veggies, quarter whole grain or starch, and a quarter protein. So that is a good rule of thumb to think about how to plan your meals.
And to do it most of the time. Meaning if you go to the restaurant and have a big plate of spaghetti, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got to live, you got to enjoy. It's okay to do that once in a while. But if you're eating that way every day,
yes,
then it'll be a problem.
That's when things happen, right? Exactly.
Things will happen. Well, yes, they will.
Well, that's
you will
when
notice
you
the
get
things
into
happening.
trouble with your health, you know. But really, let's go back to what we're talking about here.
Okay. The tangents that we get on this show seem to be directly related to how much wine we're drinking. Don't you find?
Oh, that's actually...
Here we go again. Here's another tangent.
The rice vinegar. So it's not obviously wine, but rice wine. Rice vinegar is so great. And It's the kind you put it into your sushi rice if you're going to make sushi rolls. And anyways, it's something that we use for salad dressings and we'll drizzle it over Brussels sprouts or asparagus or even spinach, like cooked spinach. Anyways, rice vinegar is awesome. Love it.
There we go. Since we're talking about rice.
Yeah. It was just one of those things that when you said wine, it just reminded me for some reason.
There we go.
So 2 people can be talking about rice.
Is this a joke?
No.
Okay, it sounds like the start of a joke. So there's these 2 people talking about rice, and one says to the other, sorry.
That's okay.
Here we go again.
So depending on which of the varieties we're talking about and how it's prepared, rice can be a great food, can be like a nutritious powerhouse, or it can be a useless waste of time.
That's funny.
Yeah. So there's thousands of strains of rice, and some are grown in the wild and some are cultivated as a crop, and they're used in so many different ways. And so if 2 people are talking about eating rice, they may be in fact eating entirely different foods.
Oh, easily. Absolutely. Yeah, like we talked about that. You could have your healthy long grain or brown rice versus the instant flavored packaged rice that's, full of preservatives and sodium and flavorings and all that. Completely different.
Yeah. You got we talked about that brown rice versus white rice. And, you get way more nutrition from the brown rice because it has the entire grain of rice, and the white rice has had the bran layer removed. So like stripping the grain of its bran, it strips it of the majority of its fiber and a lot of the vitamins and minerals. So vitamins such as B vitamins and magnesium and vitamin E and iron.
There you go. All those good things.
Yeah. And we covered that on the brown rice versus white rice.
Yeah. Check that one out. We'll list that in the show notes. So there you go. Some ideas to, have you heard of that show called Pimp My Ride?
No.
It's about like fixing up old cars and making them look cool.
Okay.
We could call this Pimp My Rice.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, we won't really, but
no.
Kind of reminds me of that. So getting your rice a bit fancier, instead of just eating a bowl of rice with soy sauce on it, the way most of us grew up probably doing. There's so many different ways you can use rice. And as always, we encourage you to be creative with how you cook and prepare and eat your food. There's so many different ways to eat, and we love being creative in the kitchen, and we encourage everyone to do that. If you want more ideas for that, check out our newsletter. You can sign up for that on our website, mywifethedietitian.com. It's a weekly newsletter, and every week, that is one of the things that we include in the newsletter is not a recipe per se. It's more of a meal idea. Things like we just talked about today with the rice and, adding veggies to it or eating it cold the next day as a base for your salad, that sort of thing. So check it out. There's lots of great ideas in our newsletter. There's also great ideas on the website in general. There's a blog, there's media articles on there. So it's worth a visit. And that's mywifethedietitian.com. If you have questions for us, we'd love to answer them on the show. You can email us your questions, mywifetherd@gmail.com. Love to hear what everyone's thinking, what everyone wants to know. Love your feedback too. So rating and reviewing is a great way for us to hear how you're enjoying the show, what you'd like to hear different, that sort of thing. We don't mind critiques. That's fine. We won't cry. It's okay. If there's things you think that we should do differently, then
we might cry.
Well, we might cry. Don't be mean. You don't have to be mean about it. But yeah, we're open to ideas. If there's things that you'd like us to do differently or add to the show, let us know. Love to hear what people are thinking. You can also reach out to us through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We're on all three of those. So feel free to at least give us a like. I mean, how hard is that? Helps us and, helps other people find the show too. Something else that helps people find the show is sharing with your friends. That is as easy as it gets. If you're liking the show, let your friends know.
Share it with one friend.
Yeah, all you have to do is share with one friend. You don't have to go and do a campaign or anything, or a parade or anything like that. We're just, share with your best friend. That's all we ask. And maybe they can share their best friend too, and then that'll spread. Anywho, that's enough of us for today. If you want to hear more, we will be back next Monday with a full episode. So until then, go check out the website, join our newsletter, send us some emails, check out Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, share with your friends, rate and review, and all those things. And then we'll see you next Monday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.